The Christmas Pig, written by J.K. Rowling, illustrated by Jim Field. Chapter 12. The Christmas Pig. It was nearly tea time when he heard the garden gate creak and footsteps coming back up the path. Hoping it was Mom, he jumped up and looked out of the window, but it was only Grandpa and Holly. Not long afterward, there was another knock on Jack's bedroom door, and it opened. "Jack," said Grandpa, "Holly's got something she'd like to give you." Holly's face was puffy and tear-stained. Jack sat up on his bed, staring at the brown paper bag in Holly's hand. He could think of only one thing that could make up for what she'd done. They must have gone back to the motorway to look for DP. They must have found him. For the space of a heartbeat, Jack thought that was exactly what they'd done, because when Holly put her hand in the bag, he heard the rattle of barley beans. Then hope fled. Holly pulled out a brand new pig. It was the same size as DP and made of the same toweling material, but it was plump and smug looking, with sleek, salmon pink skin and shiny black eyes that looked like tiny beetles. "He's just the same look," said Grandpa. "Holly's very sorry, Jack. She bought it out of her pocket money for you." "I'm sorry, Jack," whispered Holly. "Really, really sorry." When Jack didn't answer, Grandpa said in a falsely jolly voice, "He's a Christmas pig, aren't you, He took the pig from Holly and made it wave a plump trotter at Jack. "See, Jack, he likes you. Now, why don't you come downstairs with us, We'll have some tea and watch a movie. We'll hang up our stockings together. And don't forget your new bike, Jack. Father Christmas is probably loading it onto his sleigh right now. Come on, lad. Come downstairs, bring the Christmas pig, and we'll all be friends." Jack got slowly off the bed and held out a hand for the Christmas pig. He felt, as Jack had expected, horrible. Slippery smooth instead of rough and worn. Jack hated his shiny black eyes and perky pink ears, which ought to be lopsided and gray. "There's a good boy," said Grandpa. At these words, Jack went into his worst frenzy yet. They thought a brand new pig could be the same as DP, which showed how little they understood. DP was the only DP in the world, and this new pig was nothing. Nothing. Jack threw the Christmas pig on the floor and stamped on it. Then he picked him up, held him by a trotter, and smashed him again and again into the wardrobe, finally grabbing his head and trying to pull it off. "Jack!" shouted Grandpa. "That's enough, Jack." Holly ran out of the bedroom. Jack chucked the Christmas pig across the room at the wardrobe, then threw himself back onto the bed, yelling and punching his pillow. Nothing Grandpa said or did would persuade him to come downstairs. He didn't care about hanging up his stocking. He didn't want to be a good boy. He didn't want a new bike. The only thing in the world he wanted was DP. Much later, he heard a commotion downstairs. From what Jack overheard, Toby the dog had dragged over the tree again in search of the last bit of chocolate, and he appeared to have chewed up the new angel too. Jack was glad. If he hadn't been so sad and angry, he'd have laughed. He wished he could rip up the whole of Christmas. And then perhaps they'd all understand how he felt knowing DP was lying lost on a motorway. Crane came upstairs and made him put on his pajamas before bed. Jake only did it so she wouldn't realize what he was planning. He got into bed in the room he'd done his best to destroy, with the posters still screwed up on the floor, and drawers still out of the desk, and the Christmas pig lying in a heap at the foot of the wardrobe, and pretended he was going to go to sleep. At last, Gran left. The snow swirled against the blackening sky outside his window, while Jack waited for the house to fall completely silent. Normally, he'd be very excited. He'd have hung up his stocking with Mom and left out a carrot for Rudolph, but not this Christmas Eve. To be excited about any of that was to be betray DP, who was more important than the whole of Christmas put together. Once everyone fell asleep, Jack was going to get up again, get dressed, sneak out of the house, return to the motorway, and find his oldest friend.